So guys, welcome back to another video. I'm going to show you two photos here. Here they are side by side. One of these photos was taken with this. This is the Canon EOS R6, and on the front of it is a 16 to 35mm f2.8L series lens. And the total price for this whole setup comes to nearly $5,000. The other of the photos was taken with this. This is my Google Pixel 6. This is my new phone. Throwing this back on the screen, which do you think it was? So I'll give you a second. So camera 1 on the left here is the Pixel 6, and on the right is the Canon EOS R6. We have a total of 7 side-by-side direct comparison shots throughout the course of this video. So keep track, see how many you get right. They are not all gonna be as easy as that one. So let's throw one more up here. We'll make this one a little bit harder. This one is a portrait mode shot on the Pixel 6 versus a 35mm f2.8 zoom shot on the R6. I designed this shot to specifically be quite challenging for these cameras. There's a lot of contrasting here between the highlights on the statue and behind the window, and then the shadow, the dark areas of the windowsill. All right, got your answer? Camera 1 is again the Pixel, and camera 2 is the R6. This one was actually really close, and it just goes to show quite how good some of the portrait mode shots can be. For me, the only real giveaway here was quite how sharp the outline of the statue is, and also on the surface that the statue is standing on. You can see that the Pixel did have trouble trying to sort of work out what should be blurred and what shouldn't. We'll do another portrait mode one here because I just think it's really interesting. Potentially a little bit challenging, this one. So, right, do you have your guess? With this one, camera 1 here was the R6 and camera 2 was the Pixel. It's definitely worth noting here that with the Pixel, one of the massive advantages to portrait mode is that you can actually choose after the fact, after taking the shot, what you want in focus. You can even mess with the depth, like the depth of how much you want in focus, and even change the blur amount of the background. Obviously with the R6 you don't get any of that because it's done with optics. The blur is actually in the shot. Once you've taken that shot you can't change anything, but the quality of the blur is far better and you won't have any of these sort of fringing issues. Another couple here, we've got camera 1 on the left, camera 2 on the right. I'll just give you a second on this one. It's also quite tricky, and you would be right if you said camera 1 was the Pixel and camera 2 was the R6. Another difficult one here, to be honest. Very, very similar shots. Like, it is just mad to me that these actually come from two, it's like such different devices. We have almost a $5,000 camera system here and a phone that on its own costs like $600 or thereabouts. But here we have the R6 as camera 2 and camera 1 was the Pixel 6. So it's important to mention here that I have actually exposure corrected all of these images taken from the R6. Basically what that means is that on a pro camera like the Canon EOS R6, you shoot in something called a RAW format. It means that there's lots of detail available in the file. Generally what I'll do is I will shoot to expose for the subject or expose for the sky. That means that when I get home, I can take that file into a photo editing software and then get that photo to really look how I want it to look. If we look at these shots unedited, you'd basically immediately just think that the Pixel 6 shots were far, far better right at the back. Whereas in actual fact, what we need to do is get that file into Lightroom, play around with it, and you end up with a result that is just much more pleasing. And that's basically what the magic of something like a Pixel 6 does. A lot of these smartphones now, the Pixel 6, obviously the new iPhone, the iPhone 13, it's doing a ton of work in the background. The computational power of these cameras nowadays is just absolutely amazing. What this camera is essentially doing is taking multiple photos and combining them into one image. It does that every time you click the shutter button, and it does mean you end up with a result that is super pleasing. Everything looks balanced and everything looks really, really great. On the Canon or a professional camera, you can absolutely do this, but it just takes a lot more work. One of my favorite things from the Pixel is the magic eraser tool, which basically lets you remove blemishes or people from your shots. Again, this is definitely something you could do on a computer with Photoshop, but obviously that takes extra time, and also if you don't have access to that software, it's extra money. Another one here, we've got another statue shot, portrait mode style. I'm just so impressed that the Pixel is as good as it was. These ones are really, really similar. Camera 2 was the Pixel and camera 1 was the R6. I'm really, really not surprised if anyone got that wrong. It really was close. And again, kind of the only giveaway here, only real giveaway is these small errors around the sort of fringing of the subject. Last comparison shot here, again, just so similar, but I'll give you a second. Do you reckon you got your guess? Here we have camera 1 was the Pixel and camera 2 was the R6. It still just kind of blows my mind that some of those photos were as close as they are. It really does just go to credit the computational photography power inside of these smartphones nowadays. There's another couple of amazing modes that come on the Pixel 6. It's so impressive that there's basically advanced photography techniques built into these phones. Firstly, my favorite is called Action Pan. It's basically a way of getting panning motion blur shots directly on your phone with no additional gear. It's not like a completely one and done, like it does take quite a few tries to get like a really good one, but the results can be absolutely amazing. The way you shoot a panning shot on a normal camera is you get a tripod and then you try to pan at the same speed as the subject that you're taking the photo of. Obviously, this takes a ton of gear and this also takes a ton of skill. Like it is really, really hard to get a good panning shot. Here's just one of the attempts that I did on the same evening I was out shooting with the Pixel and the R6. This was my favorite, but I also ended up with a ton of like not usable shots at all. This was just handheld. Normally you'd need a tripod really to get a good panning shot. And this phone is doing it entirely handheld, entirely within it. So it's absolutely mad. You can also take long exposures. Again, these are all handheld shots. And again, just to reiterate that, to shoot long exposure photography, it's like kind of impossible to shoot long exposure photography without a tripod with you. And that's because you have to hold your camera in one place like this. The fact that you have a tool in your pocket to be able to generate long exposure photographies with no additional gear required is just absolutely insane. Another one is night mode, and this is just so impressive. All of the shots you're seeing right now are taken handheld with the Pixel 6 in low light. This is actually one of my favorite features. It is just mind-blowing. The sensors inside these smartphones are generally very, very small, and that just genuinely means they're just not great in low light. And the fact that they are cramming in software features to improve the low light performance and basically make these low light shots not only usable, but actually very, very good and not noisy. You can see here we had a night shot taken on the R6, which is like a decent low light performing camera. And the photos taken with the Pixel 6 actually just perform better. Still, one of the biggest advantages you have using a professional camera like this one is the fact that you can take your lenses off, swap your lenses, and that basically just means you're always going to have much more flexibility than when you are using the Pixel 6. Another thing I do need to reiterate is that you might have been able to spot throughout the course of showing you these comparison shots is that the Pixel does have a habit of just kind of like over sharpening its photos. This is pretty common with smartphone shots, but you can kind of tell that there is a digital sharpness to the photos that are being taken with these cameras. A lot of the details taken on the R6 are just much more pleasant. There's a nicer sort of roll off and things just don't look quite so, sharp and digital. I have to say that overall, I'm just so impressed that these are actually as close as they are. These smartphone cameras really are getting quite incredible nowadays. Is the Pixel 6 going to replace my Canon EOS R6? Probably not. Like there is always going to be a time for a bigger, more professional camera, especially if I'm wanting to put a larger, longer, or bigger lens on. But it is pretty amazing to have such a capable camera, especially one that shoots such good low light shots directly inside my pocket. Hopefully you have enjoyed this or found it interesting, and I'll catch you guys next time.